Welcome to the Line Life podcast. I'm Jeff Postlethwaite, Senior Editor of T&D World, and today we're bringing you more stories of the grit, courage, and inspirational teamwork that it takes to be a line worker.
Welcome to the Line Life podcast. My name is Amy Fishbach, and I'm the field editor of T&D World magazine and the host of the Line Life podcast. Before we dive into our interview-style episode for today, I'd love to invite you to become part of our Line Life podcast community by going to linelife.podbean.com and clicking follow in the top right. We air interview-style episodes with those in the line trade on the first and third Fridays of each month, and audio stories narrated from T&D World's print magazine on the second and fourth Fridays of each month. You can also subscribe to the Line Life podcast in your favorite podcasting app and find all of the past episodes at linelife.podbean.com or www.tdworld.com/podcasts. Thank you so much for tuning in, and if you have a comment on this episode or a suggestion for a future guest, please email me at euoeditor@endeavorb2b.com. I look forward to hearing from you. Today I'm featuring an interview with Alman Kerste, a journeyman line worker for Evergy, as we're now about 4 months away from the 2025 International Lineman's Rodeo Week. This episode is on the path of our road to the rodeo, and during this episode, he'll talk about how he got into line work, his career in the line trade, and finally what it's like to compete on a team at the rodeo and also volunteer on the sidelines of the International Lineman's Rodeo in Bonner Springs, Kansas. Now here's my interview with Alman Kerste. Alman, thank you so much for joining us for the Line Life podcast.
Sure.
First of all, Alman, can you talk about where you were born and grew up and how you got interested in a career in the line trade?
I came up in California, grew up in a small town, Tehachapi, knew nothing about line work, had a couple friends that got into it and had no idea really what it was. And then I moved to Sacramento, California, got married and was looking for a job.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a friend who said, hey, you should apply at the utility. And I said, okay. And he said, do you have any skills or this or that? I was like, I don't know, I can do whatever, pretty much whatever. And he's like, well, I'm a cable splicer. So I went and looked on the website. There was no cable splicer. And I said, there's no cable splicer. And he's like, well, just apply for anything. And it's like, well, there's a pre-apprentice lineman thing here. What's that? Not even remembering that I knew people that were linemen. It's like, just put it down. Anyway, went through the thing and got hired on, and the rest is history. Been doing it forever. Love it.
Perfect. And then what brought you to the Kansas City area to work for Evergy?
So I worked for SMUD in Sacramento, the utility, for about 11 years.
Okay.
Great experience, and had some family that moved out here, and we just felt like we needed to come and join them out here, and we moved out and got a job with Evergy right away. Well, KCP&L at the time,
Mm-hmm.
and it's been good ever since.
And then talk about what a day in the life is like for you right now as a journeyman line worker for Evergy.
Well, it's changed pretty dramatically. For the first 7 years here at Evergy, I was doing trouble work and evening trouble work.
Okay.
And so just the last couple of years, I've been working in the districts on a C&amp crew. So we're doing a lot of pole replacements. It changes a lot when you work in a district just because we only have a couple crews there. There's not a whole lot of manpower. So we might have to be changed from job to job, but so keeps us on our toes, but it's a good time. And it's just, like I said, for the first 7 years, I was doing all emergency work, and now we're doing, more crew work, and it's good.
So were you a troubleman then?
Yes.
So can you talk about some of the situations that you responded to in that role?
One of the cool things about being a troubleman is it's always changing, right? You respond to fires, you respond to accidents, you respond to police Operation 100s is where they want you to shut the power off for when they're trying to get somebody out of a house,
Sure.
But everywhere you go as a troubleman, it's an emergency. And so it's a kind of a heightened sense of awareness wherever you go because, yes, we got to work on the power lines, but there's something wrong, and that's why we're there.
Absolutely. And then can you talk about some of the challenges and rewards of working in the line trade for you?
I would say that, for me, I've been in the trade now going on 20 years, and it has changed dramatically from when I first started till now, culture changed quite a bit, everybody says it's a kinder, gentler world, and it is, but there's also a lot of things that make our job easier now. So before, I used to climb poles all the time, be in my hooks all the time. And now we have buckets, we have equipment, we have mini impact, large impact, different tools. I mean, we used to use all kinds of different stuff by hand that took forever. And now we have all these tools and all this equipment, just like we're here at this convention with all these things that make our job easier. So all those things are pretty cool that have come along the way. So, it's good things.
And then talk about a moment during your career where you learned about the importance of safety.
Well, it has to be top notch in our
Right.
industry. I mean, there's not a whole lot of jobs that you have where if you make a mistake, you can not go home at the end of the day. But anytime there's an accident, which, like I said, I was in trouble a lot. So you're going to an accident. I had a friend once that was cutting some trees down that were up in the primary area. They're burning a little bit, cracking a little bit. Well, they went to ground real fast. Unexpected. We deal with that on a regular basis. And so when that happened, it flashed and took out the fuse. But it was a pretty big flash and unexpected. And you're not up there in it, but you're close to it, wire comes down, stuff like that. It just always reminds you to stay on your toes because the unexpected is what you're there and what can happen. So, the cliche, expect the unexpected. Well, it's a real thing where, in line work, you have to think about what could possibly happen. And sometimes it won't, but sometimes it will.
For sure. And then can you talk about one of the most memorable storms that you've worked on during your career in the line trade?
Well, I have to say, just because I went out of town over here on that first hurricane we just had.
Helene?
And that was my first time out of town. Being in trouble, you don't get to go out of town very often. And I never took the opportunity when I was in California to go. I always had something coming up. And so as far as storm work, I will say Kansas City has its share of its own storms. Sometimes it's every weekend where we have a thunderstorm that takes out the power and we have to respond and get the power on. But with Hurricane Helene, it was our first time going out of town. My first time going out of town. Being a troubleman for so long, they only take like one from every center. And so it's a long list for a troubleman. But being with C&amp now, I've been able to go, and we got to go to Virginia and we got to go to Kentucky. And just working in there and seeing how different crews do stuff and really getting to experience a lot of the people in the area and how happy they were to get their power back on. Everybody's always happy when their power comes back on, but these people were really grateful.
Talk about the damage and devastation following that one.
So originally we were supposed to make it all the way in, when I got the call, it says, hey, you want to go to Florida? I'm like, sure, I want to go to Florida. And anyway, we ended up stopping where we did. And so the devastation, there was a lot of broken poles, a lot of trees down, stuff like that. But we didn't get in far enough once our stint of time over there ended to actually see the really super bad areas. They had like 800 broken poles in the area, but that pales in comparison to what they had, in North Carolina and some of those areas. But lots of trees, lots of stuff. We had one guy, we were putting a pole up by his house, and he had 60 bales of hay that washed away. The big bales, the big round bales, washed away. Could never find them. They had 10 inches of rain in 12 hours, which nothing compared to 30 inches. But they had a lot of stuff wash away.
That's still a lot, though. And then where did you stay then? Did you stay in a camp?
So we stayed in 2 different states, and we were able, because we were on the outskirts of things, to stay in hotels. Whereas we brought bedding and we brought stuff, air mattresses and all that kind of stuff, because we thought we were going to be staying in tents or Connex boxes or, because there was no hotels the farther in you go.
And then were you working 16-hour days, or how long were your shifts?
Yeah, so we would do 16 on, 8 off.
16 on, 8 off. Okay. And then how long were you there for?
Just at 11 days.
Well, Alman, thank you so much for going down there. I know they had a lot of power outages. What company were you assisting during the storm restoration?
AEP. Yeah. So, and I never heard of AEP before, but apparently they got like 5.6 million customers and 11 different states. And they were pretty happy. At least from what we were hearing, they were really happy with the response of Evergy. So they had nothing but good things to say about us, which was good to hear.
That's fantastic to hear, Alman. And then let's talk about the International Lineman's Rodeo. How are you involved with Rodeo Week?
I'm working in the command tent, but I do love the rodeo. I mean, I competed for probably 7 years,
Okay.
earlier on in my career. And it's nice to be here, though. It's nice to experience the Tool Expo. And on Saturday, it'd be nice to be at the rodeo and be involved in some way.
Sure. And then what are your plans for the future, Alman?
Well, like I said, I moved to working in the district. Now I'm 7 minutes from home.
Oh, that's nice.
And I had been commuting about 52 minutes every day. So
Wow.
now that I'm 7 minutes from home, my plans are to stay right where I'm at.
That's wonderful. And now that you're not doing trouble work, do you have a more regular schedule then?
Yeah, I work C shift, which is the evening shift, which is
Okay.
terrible for family life. And
Right.
also, I talked about working at another utility in California. Well, we had not even half as many storms there.
Mm-hmm.
So here I work way more than I ever worked in California, which it's okay. It's what's required. It's what's needed. But that's the nature out here. Out in the Midwest, there's just so many thunderstorms and so many, high winds and lightning, and it does what it does. And so being close to home is really nice for quality of life. The job is demanding, but since we're talking about 7 minutes from the show up, family life is way better now.
And then let's talk about your family. Do you have any kids?
I do. I've got a 16-year-old, a 12-year-old, both boys, and I also have a 7-year-old daughter, and they get to see a lot more of me now. So that's nice.
And do you want to give a shout out to your kids on this Line Life podcast episode?
Yeah. So my oldest son, he took my name, Alman.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's Benjamin.
Mhm.
He's my 12-year-old, and Kate, my 7-year-old.
We have a son named Benjamin too.
Oh, you do? Does it go by Benjamin or Ben?
He goes by Ben, but sometimes I call him Benji or Benny.
There you go.
Yes.
Keep going with your kids. Tell me again.
So we have 5. Our oldest is John, and he's 20. And then we have Paul, who's 18, and Lily, who's 15. And then we have 9-year-old twins.
Oh,
Get in,
wow.
Hopefully they'll all be out at the rodeo. They love going up in the bucket truck and enjoying the children's area on the rodeo grounds. So what about your kids? Do they want to go in the line trade too and follow in your footsteps?
Well, my oldest wants to be a rock star.
A rock star. Okay, all right. I love music, so maybe I'll hear him play one day.
And then my middle wants to be a anesthesiologist.
Okay.
And then my youngest wants to be a paleontologist.
Okay.
So
All right.
she's all into the bones and the rocks and
Very good.
and all that stuff. And anyway, that's what they want right now, which is fine with me.
That's awesome. Well, Alman, thank you so much for joining us for the Line Life podcast. We love having you on as a guest.
No, you're welcome. This has been fun.
Thanks so much for being on the show, Alman. And again, if you're listening to this episode of the Line Life podcast and you want to be a guest on the show, make sure you reach out to me. I'd love to have you. You can email me at euoeditor@endeavorb2b.com or reach out to me on social media on LinkedIn, Instagram, or Twitter. I also am always looking for apprentice line workers to feature in our Faces of the Future department and journeyman line workers to profile in our line worker focus department. All line workers who are profiled receive a free tool package from Milwaukee Tool. If you're interested in being profiled, please reach out to me and I'd love to put you in the spotlight. Also, if you're not yet a member of the Line Life podcast community, it's very easy. You just need to go to linelife.podbean.com and click follow in the top right or subscribe to our podcast in your favorite podcasting app. Thank you so much for listening to the Line Life podcast.
This episode of the Line Life podcast was written, recorded, and edited by Amy Fishbach. It was produced by Jeff Postlewaite. That's me. To listen to past episodes, visit www.tdworld.com/podcasts or find us at Podbean. You could also drop us a voice memo or message at linelifepodcast@gmail.com with your comments on this episode. We'd love to hear from you. Please follow this show on Podbean or your favorite podcasting app to be updated when new episodes are released. Thank you for listening.